welcome to the No More Bohica podcast. You're here today with Gary Crosby Klobitsky Jr., aka Biddy. I'm joined by They Call Me Bruce, and my good friend Ramsey, the Angry Muslim. And a special guest star today, this is Madeline.
Hi.
Madeline is my daughter. She's 22 years old. She's autistic. She's in the autism programs in Minnesota, which we are going to discuss today. And on the phone, joining us is the Poobah, Peter Capoletti. Pete, you want to say hello?
Yo, what's up, party people?
Right on. And first of all, let's start with the basics. Merry Christmas. We're so happy that you're watching our show. I hope you have a happy holidays and a Merry Christmas. God bless everybody, and God bless your families.
Amen, brother.
So real quick before we get into this crisis in Minnesota, I want to do a quick tidying up of something that came up on the last show, and it had to do with the code of laws in our Constitution and Islamic law and stuff like that. So the bottom line is this. There is a code of laws that's embedded in every single nation, religion, and people that have walked this earth for the last 8,000 years. The first code of laws was the code of Ur-Nammu, the oldest code, developed by the ancient Sumerians and discovered on the clay tablets that we discovered in the late 1800s. After that, in 1755 to 1750 BC, that code of laws was revised and honed by Hammurabi of the Babylonian Empire, and that code of laws, both code of laws, are basically tied to every system of laws on planet Earth. That includes Islamic law, that includes our Constitution, that includes the Canadian laws, every nation, every religion. And that has been scientifically proven. That's not just my opinion. If you research this stuff yourself, you're going to see it. So it's really easy to draw similarities between one set of laws to another because, let's face it, laws are laws, and most laws are designed to protect people. So that's all I have to say about that. Poobah, can you bring us up to date on what's going on in Minnesota with the autism programs and stuff?
Well, I dug into it a little bit and I got so depressed I stopped reading about it. But, what I can tell you is it just looks like, more of the same. Meet the old boss, meet the new boss, same as the old boss. The politicians took bribes and payoffs and looked the other way and laundered money, and it just looks like a big Ponzi scheme of cash rolling into politicians and their buddies. That's the 30,000-foot view, Gary, of what's happening.
Well, one of the scariest things that I learned through this crisis was that Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, turned a blind eye to all this fraud because he was worried about his image. For real. And, we discuss on this show how corrupt our political system is. We discuss how corrupt our politicians are, but oh my goodness. Or holy buckets, right? 1.7 billion, and this guy's still angling to be our governor, or to be your governor.
Well, if he's going to run again, so I'm kind of, when it comes to people being being held accountable and being punished, and people that break the law and steal taxpayer money, getting caught and being punished and going to jail. I'm from Missouri now, which is the show me state. You're going to have to show me because I just don't believe it anymore. There's no accountability for anybody at all. Tim Walz is going to run for re-election, and he might win.
He's trying not to take accountability for this, and I think it's pretty well documented, especially with the fact that some 30,000 Minnesota employees signed a petition that they sent to Vice President Kamala before Trump was elected, detailing this fraud that was being ignored by the governor. If this guy somehow survives that, I pity the state of Minnesota. I do.
Yeah, they were all well aware of it. Obviously, this isn't the first time there's been fraud in government or in Minnesota for that matter.
Right.
But this one's special. This one's new. It has to do with a bunch of, it's a Somali population
Yeah, and you know, the worst part about it is, let me introduce you to some numbers. Okay, so far, 78 defendants of Somali descent charged with defrauding the HSS, the EIDBI, and FCNP. There are a total of 1,653 fraudsters, of which the 78 have been charged with all three. What I worry about is there are 107,000 Somalians in the state of Minnesota. We've charged 1,653 of them are due to be charged. That's 1.5% of the Somali population. That percentage might go up a little bit when it's all said and done. But what I'm trying to say, like my daughter Sammy, she's got a Somalian friend in college, and she's really worried about the blowback against the Somalian population. I mean, if we just look at the numbers that are being provided to us today, we can see that 98.5% of the Somalians are probably innocent and not necessarily bad people, okay? And maybe they were duped by their constituents, who's to say? But I'm worried about there being extra tension between the Muslims and the Christians. I know Ramsey has friends that are Somalians. What can you tell us about Somalians?
Well, I mean, it's hard to tell with the Somalis. You know, we had an operation back in the 90s with the Somalis, so they're coming from a war-torn country. I know the Kenyans have had problems with the Somalis. They're not your average Africans. I mean, they do cattle rustling and stuff. So, but the question comes down to the vetting process, you know, and people they brought here. But this just sounds criminal. I don't think it has anything to do with them being Somalis. A lot of other nationalities.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we brought over some of the criminal element along with legitimate refugees, and that obviously happens from all the countries that we try to help. But in any case, this is real serious business, and I brought my daughter Maddie here because I'm worried that she might be one of the victims of this crisis. I mean, she is autistic, and she's enrolled in all the autism programs in Minnesota, deservedly so.
So she legitimately has autism here.
Yeah, she's legitimate.
Yeah, as I know, as you know, we all know, but that's been a house of cards here recently in Minnesota.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about, that it is a house of cards. But I'm going to put it on record here. If the state of Minnesota decides they don't want to support my daughter, I would gladly support her here in the state of Colorado, okay? With or without help from the state or the federal government. So let's make that clear for the public. She always has a place to live here as long as I'm alive. So anything else I know. So here we are, we're talking about the governor who's clearly corrupt, allowed $1.7 billion in fraud right under his nose, which he knew about and has even admitted to that. And it's come out that he was trying to protect his image. He's been linked to a bunch of other really nefarious stuff, which maybe we'll talk about at a future date as more of that gets revealed. But I want to promote Mike Newcomb for governor of Minnesota. I want to personally offer my support to Mike Newcomb. I knew him in college. I knew him as an honest, hardworking guy. And he's running as an independent. He invested over $100,000 of his own money just to get started. The state of Minnesota needs somebody who isn't connected to all this corruption. Not that he won't be in the future, who knows, but I knew him in college and he was a good guy. What do you think, Poobah? How do you feel about Newcomb?
Well, Mike Newcomb, nice guy. Graduated high school from White Bear Lake, and I think in 1989 went to University of St. Thomas, where Gary and I went to college. We knew Mike. He was a nice kid. We all liked him. Graduated college, started a family, became a successful entrepreneurial business person. bitching about Minnesota right now, but I think probably every state in the country could be bitching about their local politicians. But Mike got fed up with what he was seeing and said enough is enough, and he's running for governor of Minnesota as with the Independence Party. So obviously there's the Democrats, there's the Republicans, and the Independence Party. The goofy thing about Minnesota is we've elected a governor from the Independence Party before, or an independent governor, but of course that was Governor Jesse Ventura, Jesse the Body.
Jesse the Body. Yeah.
Yeah, back in the
who turned out to be the best governor we ever had in the state of Minnesota.
Yeah,
in hindsight.
And he had big time name recognition, which is something that Mike doesn't have. But we actually went beyond the mainstream and elected an independent governor. We didn't vote Republican, we didn't vote Democrat, we voted independent in that instance. So there's that. And I think there could be a storm brewing. The people of Minnesota are fed up with all of the BS and crime and theft and general misuse of our tax funds. This could be, and Tim Walz, I mean, what a goofball during his vice presidential run, and he said all other kinds of accusations against him, and now this giant fraud case. This could be the perfect storm for the state of Minnesota to bypass the Republicans and the Democrats this year and vote independent. And Mike's a good guy who's out there trying to push it. He's got a year to do it, and I'm sending my endorsement to him also. Mike Newcomb for Minnesota governor.
There you have it, folks. The Poobah has endorsed Mike Newcomb for governor. Biddy has endorsed Mike Newcomb for governor. How do you guys feel based on what we said?
I have never heard of Mike Newcomb, but I love Newcomb. That sounds like a slogan. And if you guys, I trust your judgment. I'll look into him. I'll be happy to look into him. I have a lot of friends and family in Minnesota. So,
any comments?
No, I mean, I'm always willing to try a different flavor.
All right.
as long as it's not the pillow guy.
The No More Bohica cast here at the No More Bohica show
ever.
endorses Mike Newcomb for governor of Minnesota. So please check him out, see what you think, share his story with your friends and family, and hopefully we'll be able to turn over a new leaf in the state of Minnesota and move on to happier times. So Bruce, I got a question for you. We were talking the other day about how Don tweeted out, eliminate all Biden's pardons. Can you kind of enlighten me as to what's going on there?
Yeah, Donald Trump's chief of staff said the other day that he has tendencies of an alcoholic, and I don't know why she would say that or what that really meant. But when somebody does these things that seem very odd in the middle of the night, late at night, in repetition, or just forwards or retweets or retruths or whatever, it obviously it makes people think that what is really going on here.
I'll tell you what's going on. Don, late at night, Don's like, hey.
I mean, he doesn't drink.
Again, this is whiskey. Hey,
time
to talk about politics.
But some of it is.
Right. What am I gonna pull out of my A today?
Yeah, some of it is just kind of the age we're in. It's like you want something,
It just sounds like drunk tweeting all the time, doesn't it?
It does.
What do you think?
I can't.
We didn't
try to
complete the
imagine
story.
if it's the American president on his phone, or does he have does somebody tweet for him, or it's the American president?
Well, it's got his name on it, and he ain't disputing it. So as far as I'm concerned, it's coming from him.
I can't sleep next to my wife and tweet at midnight from bed. I mean.
So the gist of it is that.
Bring me up to speed on this. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So Don has been upset about the criticism he's received for the pardons that he's issued.
Who?
Donald Trump has
So
received.
he issued pardons that people are pissed about.
Yes.
Okay.
And so one night, was it like 2 weeks ago, roughly, He tweeted out that he was going to eliminate all of Biden's pardons, or roll them back, or whatever. What did he say?
He just invalidated all
Invalidated.
of the pardons that Biden, and I don't know that
Was it the auto pen thing, where the auto pen pardons, where they weren't his signature, they were
Yeah.
done with an auto pen, and they were saying it was a staffers just running wild with using his signature. Is that what he was getting at?
I guess so.
Exactly.
That's what he's saying. Is that his
So
staff
he
is
said
going
none of those are valid. He's going to get rid of.
No. He said he's getting rid of all the Biden pardons. He didn't say he was going
Yeah,
to
the
get.
Biden parts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is he talking about these are Biden staffers, or what?
Well, the auto pen story is when Biden was going out of office, there was a bunch of pardons that came flying out. None of them had his actual signature. They were all signed with an auto pen. You hit the
Oh.
button, it just stamps your signature. And the story at the time was, he didn't sign them. He didn't know that they were being signed. It was just staffers selling pardons and using his auto pen to get that done. That's the only pardon shenanigans I'm aware of.
Oh, okay.
If it's true.
So I was under the impression that he was reacting to all the criticism that he's received for the pardons that he's given. So.
Well, he was, because he when specifically asked about some particular pardons, he said, "I don't even know who that is, but people told me that this was wrong. This person was unjustly demonized by the Democrats, so I pardoned him." But he literally didn't know who these people were. So maybe that's happened with presidents our entire lives. Who knows?
Isn't that kind of a symptom of alcoholism?
It's lashing out when you're caught in a situation. First instinct is to lash out at a previous administration for doing exactly what you're doing.
So who specifically does he want back behind? He wants Hunter Biden behind bars?
Well,
I
he just
don't
wants
know.
to invalidate anything that Biden.
But yeah,
did.
who
And
specifically
Obama.
does he want to target from those
I
Bidens?
don't think we've
Nobody?
seen any news on that so far.
I couldn't.
I
tell
mean,
you.
you'd have to look at all the people that Biden pardoned,
Because
and then all of those people.
Trump
if,
is
if-
interesting.
If Hunter Biden was one of those,
Interesting.
Did somebody comment and he looked him up and said, "Oh, this guy was pardoned. I need him back in jail," because that would end you up in jail if you comment about Melania or Trump.
Right,
I just think that, and I think this is a topic that's going to come up in the future. It just seems to me that just the way these tweets come out in the middle of the night and stuff, it just sure seems like drunk tweeting to me. And this is the guy that can push the red button, right?
Yeah.
Well, if there's anyone that knows anything about drunk tweeting, I can let you know.
Well, I'm sure we all could. I'm sure we all could. We're all guilty of drinking, no question. And we've all embarrassed ourselves with alcohol.
Let's see his
I think we have that in common.
So I thought Trump didn't drink. That's what I had heard.
No.
Who knows?
Well, then what's he on?
I think that the point being made is he's an 80-some-year-old man.
Oh, that's
Right.
true.
This is going to happen to every one of us. So
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, if we can hold ourselves together at 80 as well as he can, I suppose maybe we could be president. But
Either that or Trump is just doing as he's told by his handlers.
you think Trump does as he's told by his handlers?
I do. I think it's plainly clear.
Really?
I do too, a little bit. I mean, there was one case in particular where there was a cabinet meeting. Marco Rubio leaned over and whispered in Trump's ear that he needed to approve a tweet or a truth, quickly because something was happening. So I think Ramsey's point is valid that somebody might be doing this behind the scenes, and then the president will either say yes or no, publish it, because I don't.
Ramsey, what group of people do you think are controlling Trump?
I think it's Stephen Miller. He's the little angry man syndrome. Him and his wife, they come across because some of the Trump responses, sometimes they're jabs at you. Sometimes you have to laugh. Stephen Miller is not the type that laughs. He takes them very seriously. Some of the comments Trump just has to roll off his shoulder. just like he did with Mamdani. Everybody was expecting an angry Trump, but it's not his personality. You know, Trump is Trump has a British humor. He has some sense of humor. He's not a. I don't see him as an angry individual to be responding. It's not him responding to some of these tweets.
He doesn't do it in person on camera. When he meets people in person
Yeah,
on
yeah.
camera, he's very respectful usually.
No, he's a blunt person.
Well, he's blunt, but
you can tell Trump your thoughts about him. I think Trump can take it.
he's open, right?
He's a very open person. When he said shithole countries, I mean, he went to Somalia. There's no Trump Tower in Somalia. He probably looked for a 5-star hotel. He didn't find it.
Right.
You know, nobody said, hey, you know, sir, they had beaches and hotels, you know, back in Black Hawk Down. We cleaned out Mogadishu. Who did? That was us, sir. You know, we dropped like 500,000 troops on them and, you know, did a Gaza on them. That's why there's no hotels there. Yes, it is a shithole country, yes. I would not visit it because I don't think I would find a place to book there. I don't think I would want to go there. He's right about that. That's why people like to come to America. But the question is, you know, see, when I came to America, I had to answer a lot of questions. I was really scared to just show up at the Border Patrol and then there they decide, you know, that they're gonna put me somewhere. You know, maybe Cuba. It's a reality in America when you're a foreign citizen.
So Ramsey, when did you please tell the story. When did you come?
I came here back in 1996.
And how old were you, roughly?
I was 17.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. I had grown up in one of the special communities in Africa, so I already had an idea of colonialism. But you have to understand the world is different now. You know, people are not. You're not coming to civilized barbarians. You know, Africa is different now. It's not Africa of 40 years ago. So you know, yeah, people are different. You know, people are different. We're wishing to go back to those times. I think some of our billionaires have this idea of enslaving hundreds of thousands of people, but it's like, unless you're China or India, you know, you're not gonna be able to get that many people under control. You know, and I think that's ultimately
Yeah,
the
not
goal
unless you go
here.
communist, I agree.
Yeah, they're trying to get so many people under control, like the Chinese model. And it's like, guys, if you know Americans, you know, we can't sit, you know, like the way we're sitting right now,
Yeah,
knitting Nikes.
we proved that in the 60s.
Yeah, we can't do
Remember
that,
the
guys.
flower children?
Yeah, we're
Wow, so 1996, so you've been here almost 30 years.
it's definitely been a different experience. I came here to avoid, let's say I came here to avoid the war on terror. I was in Kenya when bin Laden blew up the embassy. And so that was the first time we heard about Osama bin Laden. And being in Kenya, I went to school with the children of the diplomats that worked at the embassy. So people at school got hurt, actually got killed, a school teacher got killed, some parents got killed. So that was my first experience with that. And then,
Wow.
yeah, coming here and then September 11 happening, you know, same people involved.
And there's some really interesting stories that we're going to get into in a future podcast about what happened to Ramsey in the 2000s when he left and returned to the country.
Interesting. So, hey, Ramsey, I got a question for you. What are your thoughts on people that come to this country, come to America? What are your thoughts on assimilation?
So here's the main problem that you're facing. For me, I have the
Personally, what do you think about assimilation?
No, you can assimilate in 40 days. We have a saying, you join, if I came and lived with you for 40 days, I'll start eating the same food you guys are eating. I'll pick up
meatballs and garlic toast.
Yeah, I'll pick up all your ugly habits. You know, I'll start waiting for you to turn on the TV. I'll know game time. I'll probably start using your slang.
Start eating fat-free food with no nutritional value.
Yeah, I'll start living your life. It's a saying we have in our language. You know, when you stay with the people for 40 days, you become part of those people.
I guess what I'm saying, do you think that people coming here like yourself, how important is it, or is it important at all, to assimilate into what is commonly considered the American culture?
So here's what you have to understand. You have to remember that Christians came from the Inquisition, you had Puritans, and you have Gary today. You know, if Gary was a Puritan today, some of those people are coming as Puritans to America. You know, they're coming from a place where they have a set of rules, they have a culture. It's not like I came from Afghanistan and I seen a Walmart and I don't know how to act. I'm gonna think I'm in heaven. What do you mean I won't know how to act because there's a Walmart? I don't know how to use a Walmart. I don't know that you grab stuff, put in a basket, go check out, pay money. It's a massive shop, you know. So the thing about what they're talking about is like, say I come here and I find Gary drinking. You know, this is a big violent sin during Puritan times. Somebody coming from Afghanistan is not used to seeing massage parlor. For us, this is normal. And then, you know, he goes and sees, you know, a different kind of couple, you know, a transsexual couple. Yesterday I went to Christie's Sports. I seen a blonde. She had boobies. I looked at this blonde and she looked pretty straight. And I'm looking at it, it's a dude. It's a dude. He looks like a hot chick. He's working at Christie's Sports.
You should move to Thailand. You would love it there.
Yeah, but a guy coming from Afghanistan, you know, for me, I looked at him and I wondered, like, you know, I've seen car salesmen get attracted to people like this. I've seen car salesmen walk really close up to the tranny, like she was a real blonde, Pam Anderson. But a guy from Afghanistan is not used to that. Maybe something like that, yes. Yes, if the guy's seeing something like that, you know, you brought him, put him across a rainbow school, yes, he might not assimilate there.
Well, I think it's been pretty well established that the Muslim religion in general is anti-gay, just like the far-right Christians are, just like the Russian government is, and I'm sure we could name many more. Okay, in the United States here, we're tolerant of all people. It is a different country. It's this tolerance that separates us from a lot of other cultures. And in my book, I talk about my vision, and without developing this kind of tolerance worldwide, we as human beings will not survive what comes in the future. It's together we stand, divided we fall, okay? And right now we live in a world that's divided, all right? We've got two more topics that we want to discuss before the show gets over, and we're gonna come back to this, circle back to what I just said here at the end of the show. But right now I'd like to shift gears and talk about Nick Fuentes. So we have talked about Nick Fuentes on this show a couple times. We've mentioned him. I've seen about a dozen of his videos now, and I gotta say that based on what I have personally seen from this man, that he's a good listen. I've heard him speak some truth. There was one thing that he harps on that I would correct him on, but before we do that, I want to give everyone a chance to talk on him, but before we do that, I want to read what Wikipedia has to say about Nicholas Joseph Fuentes. It says he's an American white nationalist, political commentator, activist, and live streamer who has hosted America First with Nicholas J. Fuentes since 2017. On his live stream show, he promotes Christian nationalism, white supremacy, misogyny, anti-LGBT LGBTQ rhetoric, anti-Semitism, including Holocaust denial, and his supporters are known as gripers. Well, I'm not a griper. However, I will lend my support to everything I've seen from Nick so far. Somebody needs to show me a video where he actually does this stuff that it says on the internet, and then maybe I'll believe it, okay? But I've watched a dozen of his videos so far, and what I have seen is a man that cares about his country, who speaks the truth. He hasn't said anything that I find offensive, and if I don't find him offensive, then nobody, any race, shouldn't find him racially insensitive based on what he's saying, okay? Telling the truth doesn't make you a bigot, all right? Being prejudiced and being a bigot makes you a bigot. But telling the truth about what's going on with the racial inequality and whatever, those are truths that we need to live by. And I got something for Nick that I want to say. Nick, as a white man, we've been the minority my entire lifetime, okay? It hasn't just suddenly happened, all right? And so what I would say to Nick is, what about all the people on planet Earth that are half white? Instead of calling them half Asian or half black, why not call them half white? Solve the problem, right? I mean, wouldn't we then be the dominant race again? It could be that simple, people. I mean, and who cares, really? Because if we don't come together, if we don't find a way to come together, we will fail, and we will cease to exist. And that may not happen while we're alive. As a matter of fact, in my vision, I don't expect it to happen for thousands of years. But considering the state of humanity that we live in, do you really expect that at our current pace, with a world full of linear thinkers, that we're ever going to agree on anything or come together the way we need to survive whatever challenge awaits us in the future? I don't think so. But guys, what do you have to say about Nick? I've given my opinion. Let's hear your opinion. Poobah, you go first. What do you say?
Well, number one, you can't trust Wikipedia.
Okay.
It's run by all the wrong people, and they're there to deliver a narrative that they want you to believe. So that's, I guess, my thought number one. Number two, I listen to Nick. I think he's funny. He's provocative. He throws out bombs and zingers. But here's the thing. Everybody wants you to be honest, but nobody wants to hear the truth.
Right. Right. That was the best statement I've heard. And this is our 4th podcast, and that's the number 1 best statement I've heard. Say it again, Poobah.
Everybody wants you to be honest, but nobody wants to hear the truth.
Everybody wants to be honest. But
Wants you to be honest,
wants you
but
to
nobody
be
wants to
honest.
hear the truth.
But nobody wants to hear the truth. Wow. Isn't that some real truth, people? All right. What do you got to say, Bruce, about Nick?
Nick Fuentes. All I can say is that he is he's reaching a group of people, young male, white males, that are desperate for someone. The Charlie Kirk kind of guy. They don't like Bernie Sanders. They don't like Tim Walz. They don't like the traditional people that they are given the opportunity to watch or listen to. Nick is resonating with those people, and I don't personally haven't watched or listened to him, so I can't give an opinion of what he's about. But I know that our youth in this country is desperate for somebody to listen to, and they connect with him.
Well, I think because Nick has spoken out against the violence in Gaza, that he's being persecuted by certain elements in our society that freak out every time somebody says something negative about Gaza. Ramsey, what do you think about it?
So there's 2 things here that are at part, and this is what Jesus fought. Okay. First, we're talking about money lending, so usury. And then second, we're talking about murder. Okay. The Talmud doesn't view the rest of the human beings as human beings, and so they're okay with that. So do whatever you want to do. So it's like, imagine the Bible only applied to Christians. So all the rules in the Bible, you don't do to your fellow Christian, but to everybody else, it's free game.
That sounds evil to me.
But here's the problem, and here's where white people need to understand, okay? Western dominance was built off of colonialism. There's some elements, there's some leadership that we have here. It's like my father being Pablo Escobar. He feeds us, he feeds the town, but he's the head of the cartel. And that's kind of where we are. You know, our leadership is the global cartel. Nick Fuentes is talking about the global cartel. They got into a mistake in Gaza. Gaza is a side project of a special interest group in the cartel. Israel's going to destroy itself over Gaza. The Israelis are already committing suicide. It's the most depressing place to be on the planet. I don't want to visit. I don't want to sit with them. I don't want to drink coffee with them. I don't want to talk to any of them. Let's put it like this. I don't want to bring even a little bit of comfort to any of them. They all know exactly the atrocities they committed. When you were given orders to blow up that boat in Venezuela, okay, there's American rules of engagement. You look at your sergeant and say, sir, I'm looking down the scope. It's a kid. And the way that kid is walking, that kid doesn't look like he even has a full brain. That kid needs help walking across the street. No, shoot, he's gonna blow up troops. From where? From 300 yards away? We'll shoot him when he gets in within two yards, when he can hear us. And that's Gaza. But the problem with Gaza is that we were taught to deny Gaza. So they expected that the Americans would believe that Holocaust happens against Jews. So if it was Thailandis that were getting killed, they're Thais. Indians, Thais. Worse than Gaza, there's Sudan. I mean, you look at Sudan and they're killing them by the tens of thousands per day. I mean, Sudan is crazy. Sudan is crazy. The ground is soaked red from blood. And Sudan is not even Israel. You know, when it comes to Israel, these guys are, they're cartoonish characters. They're evil, but they're not as evil as the Sudanese. The Sudanese are, I mean, they'll crack a joke with you, they'll eat lunch with you, and then take you outside and shoot you after they've made you feel safe. I mean, it's completely unpredictable in Sudan. You don't know what they're killing you over. They're just been told, mow the grass, cut everything, dog, everything, kill everything.
Okay.
Let me ask you one thing, Ramsey, because Puba, you brought this up about Wikipedia, and because all of this stuff that's happening, there should be a permanent record in the future. Wikipedia is kind of the go-to. What did you say, Ramsey, earlier about what's happening with Wikipedia?
Here's the deal with Wikipedia. We have become a cult. We have to believe a lie for our existence to continue. They're changing stuff for us. If you look at Jesus, all of us knew Jesus died in a certain way. If you look it up now, it's probably a different group, different circumstances that got him killed. You start wondering, like, I mean, the narrative is changing. We're being given a new narrative now, and you know, if you wanna be American, you have to go with this new narrative. Venezuela is bad. We have to kill them. You're either with us or against us. So what if I'm against attacking Venezuela? I need to go back to my country? Hold on a minute, what's going on here? And it's kind of like George Bush, you know, the same thing he did with Iraq. You're either with us or against us. And he said, guys, I know these people that did September 11. They're not capable of doing September 11. Somebody else, guys, two people can't even let's meet in Minnesota. We can't even synchronize 2 flights to meet in Minnesota. How did they synchronize 5 flights into a tower? How did they even manage to be on time for their flights?
Great question.
See, that's the thing. You know, I don't want to tell you that the planes were drones. They were remote controlled. The pilot probably thought, oh my God, the door is locked. We can't get out of here. Hey, do you have access? I don't have access. Where are the black boxes? There's no black boxes. We didn't even hear them. We didn't hear the conversation. A guy shows up with a plastic fork, and I'm flying a plane with 400 people in it. I'm going to kill everybody because I'm afraid of a plastic fork. There was no fight.
All right. So I want to get back to Nick Fuentes, but I did Google the death of Jesus and stuff just to see. I didn't see anything in there where they're changing the narrative yet, for what it's worth. But Nick Fuentes, there is an element in the press which I believe is Zionist-controlled press, and I don't think that that's anti-Semitism to say that. I love all people, including Jewish people. Got no issue with any human being. Anybody that thinks I do should read my book. That said, I think people of all races should take a hard look at Nick Fuentes and support him, because he's just speaking the truth, okay? And yeah, some of his truths are hard to listen to, like the part about how the white population is shrinking and we're the minority and we're going to get taken over and stuff like that. That's a little extreme. But that, even when he says stuff like that, I haven't heard any anti-Semitism. I haven't heard any anti-gay. I haven't heard any white supremacy. And I am very, very, very anti-white supremacy. And if you've read my book, you'll know that for a fact. Okay.
I think I know what we're talking about here, and I think I can answer Pupa's question. I'm actually married to a mixed. My wife is half white, half native. What Nick is talking about is, if you take the Indians, and I've talked about this before, I don't like the Hindus. I don't like them in leadership, and I'll tell you the reason why. And they pointed it out. They called up Vivek, whatever the hell he is. Yeah, they love to marry Indians. They will always bring a submissive Indian woman. They bring their culture here. See, we've been pointed at the Arabs. And I didn't want to say this, but when you find Arabs, they don't connect. Like if Bruce has Arab friends, if Bruce said anything about me, my lifestyle, his friends will pretend to be white. They would not come out like Italians, hey, brother, and pizza, pasta. We don't have that. We don't have that. It's not like Chinese where you come here and they're turning America into China. Somebody's pointing the finger at some of these Muslim people, but the Muslims are actually, they're shopkeepers. They're very easy to deal with. They fill up a gap in our society. They own these small delis, small little grocery stores. That's where you'll find Muhammad. He does that where he's from. He does that here. He's not gonna turn Minnesota. He's not gonna put a sign that says, hey, she's gotta wear something on her head to come into the store. That's where they're trying to take this to. In Israel, the Jews have neighborhoods like that. There's neighborhoods in Israel that you shouldn't go in as an Arab, but even more dangerous is to go in as a Christian. Go in as a Christian showing your cross. Unless you're wearing a military uniform, my friend, you're in big trouble. You don't want to go in there like that. They have those communities. They have them in Brooklyn. They don't show them to you. I don't know Minnesota. I don't know if that's the Muslims have a neighborhood where you go in there and you're scared. Coming in with your tattoos, miniskirt. No, I've heard it. Most of them.
But there are plenty of neighborhoods in Minnesota that you don't want to go into. I mean, everybody knows that.
And Nick Fuentes has actually talked about it. Him and Tucker actually went to Qatar. And they really hate him for it. He actually met with some of the victims of Israel's war.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I saw that. That was interesting.
I know Tucker got blackballed for speaking out against the wanton death and destruction in Gaza, as is Nick Fuentes getting blasted probably by the same people.
And they're just being good Christians.
I'd love for them to come after me, because then I could publicly say, well, these people have obviously never read my book.
Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not give false testimony, thou shalt not steal.
Yeah, thou shalt not bear false witness is one that every person who goes to domestic court should remember.
Yeah.
But
And you know what else? We're all guilty of it.
Probably.
At some point in our lives, we've all,
Yeah. Yeah, nobody's perfect. I mean,
Right.
if you think you are, well, then you're probably not a human being. Okay, maybe you are an alien. But, so let's go to the last topic that I want to bring up. And this is, I think, a very important topic because we're going into the Christmas season. In 10 short days, we're going to be celebrating the birth of our Savior Jesus Christ as Christians. I've been told by Christians that Muslims, Jews, everyone else on planet Earth prays to a different God than we do. I've been told by Muslims that Christians, Jews, everyone else prays to a different God than they do. I've been told this by many different people of different races and religious affiliation. So this is what I want to say. And I write about this clearly in my book. And this is something that I think is really, really important going into this Christmas season. We live in a spiritual world that is flat. Okay? We live in a spiritual world that is flat, dominated by linear thinkers. Linear thinkers that have been trained to think in a linear fashion for thousands or tens of thousands of years. Okay? But let me relate it to science. Okay, 500 years ago, we lived in a scientific world that was flat. Everybody believed the world was flat. And they wanted to, kill people like Galileo for having the audacity to say that the world was round. What an amazing thing we went through 500 years ago. And so now, here we are at another turning point in our civilization. I'm not the only person out there that claims that we're all praying to the same God. I'm not the only person out there that's received a message. And I'm not going to be the last. All right? So, based on what I saw in my vision 30 years ago, we are all praying to the same God. The Buddhists say it best. They say, many rivers, one ocean. That's a Buddhist saying. Okay? Many rivers, one ocean. There's the Muslim river. There's the Christian river. There is the liberal Christian river. There is so many rivers that lead to God. And it really doesn't matter what denomination you are, who you pray to. And over the course of time, we're going to talk about similarities between different religions rather than pointing out all the differences. And this is what I want you to think about. If any one religion had it 100% right, wouldn't we all be following that religion? Wouldn't we all be praying the same way? Wouldn't we all know that this was right? See, the reason why we have so many different religions is because nobody's got it 100% right. And anybody that thinks they do is a linear thinker that thinks in absolutes and isn't able to see past their own nose. Because this is the way they've been trained since birth. This is the way it is. This is the way it is. This is the way it is. These people are wrong. We're right. These people are wrong. We're right. If you're wondering what a linear thinker is, that's a person that can only think in one or two directions simultaneously. I would venture to say that every single human being that sets foot in an automobile behind the wheel reverts to becoming a linear thinker. So if you need a good example, just go out and drive. In any case, in my vision, I saw that there's one God, and we're all praying to the same God. And in order for us to come together as humanity and survive what's coming down the pipe, whether it be 500 years from now, 2,000 years from now, 5,000 years from now, whatever that may be, we need to come together as one human race. I mean, quit trying to divide us into white, black, semi-black, brown, yellow, red, what am I missing? Green, right? Oh, we don't have green people yet, but we will someday. Maybe the Gatorheads will land here. That's for Brad Dixon in our old college days. And those of you who read my book, hopefully you'll get the joke. But the bottom line is this. We have to come together as one society or we will become extinct and fall. Okay? And it's up to us. It's freedom of choice. And we don't have to agree. I'm a Christian. Ramsey's a Muslim. I guarantee we will never agree on religion ever. Okay? But so what? I still respect Ramsey as a friend. He's a good snowboarder. I'm a good skier. We got a lot in common, right? We both pray to the same God. Whether we both believe that or not is really irrelevant because we hold the same core principles. Do unto others as they do unto you. That's what a Buddhist would say. Love your neighbor like yourself. That's what a Christian would say. What would a Muslim say?
No, in Islam we have to follow the previous books. The only problem with
The previous books say love your neighbor like yourself. Right?
exactly, we have to follow the previous books.
So the Muslims say the same thing as the Christians, and yet
it's there in our book.
the world wants us to hate each other. They want another Spanish Inquisition. They want more crusades. They want more death, more violence. They want the end of humanity. So they have control. Right? Isn't that what we talk about a lot? Corrupt governments and control and how they try to control everything. They're controlling.
Keep going, Gary.
They're controlling the money, right?
Exactly.
So that gets down to one of my core principles in my book. There is God and there is the anti-God, aka money. Money is neither good nor evil. Is it the root of all evil? Heck yeah. But that doesn't mean money's evil. Okay, what people do for that money, what they do to others for that money, that's evil. But here's what I see in the world today. What I see is there are Christians, Muslims, Jews, Hindus, Buddhists, people of all religions, Scientologists, Confucianists, you name it, every Istanism on planet Earth. In my opinion, there are more people that claim to worship God but actually worship the anti-God more than God. Okay? And what we are seeing is we live in a world where God and the anti-God have gradually moved further and further and further and further and further apart. Okay? When they uncovered the ancient city of Pompeii, they found 95% of the city's wealth buried in the temples of worship. We live in a world today where over 99% of the world's wealth is controlled by less than 1% of the population. And that's why we need guys like Nick Fuentes to tell the truth and take the heat. Okay? We, as humanity, we have to learn to come together and respect each other's differences. You don't have to be a Christian that learns to think like a Muslim, and you don't have to be a Muslim that learns to think like a Christian. All you have to do is learn to respect each other instead of hating each other and saying, I'm right, you're wrong all the time. And I'm here to tell you, based on what I saw in my vision that came from God, if we don't figure it out, if we don't learn how to come together, then what's the point? Are we just living for ourselves in our brief life, or do we actually care about the people that will come after us? Do we care about the children of tomorrow? Do we care about our children's children? Do we care? So please, we're going into the holiday season, think about it. You don't have to agree with me, but just admit that there's at least a 1% or maybe even a 0.1% chance that I could be right. Okay, and I think in hundreds of years from now I'll be proven right. But that said, it's got to start somewhere. And if we don't learn how to come together, we might as well just party it up until we're gone. All right.
Bravo, Gary.
Anyone else got something to say?
That was outstanding.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Oh, that was sweet.
All right.
Okay.
Well, have a wonderful holiday season, and we'll see you again next episode.